Hey guys, it's me, Rohan Singh, and today I'm going to talk about a book. But this isn't a story or a practice book, a study book like I talked about many times before. This is a fictional book. In fact, I hope that this is a fictional book and will remain a fictional book. But if you guys have already seen the thumbnail and the title of the video, then you know the book I'm going to talk about is 1984 by George Orwell. Now, I'm pretty sure you've heard of this book, but this is, in my opinion, one of the best dystopian books ever written. First, I'll give you an introduction on why I think this is one of the best dystopian books ever written. Now, 1984 by George Orwell was not actually written in 1984, but was actually written in 1949, 4 years after World War II ended. This book was George Orwell's prediction, or what at least he thought would happen if the world continued from 1949 into the way it was. Basically, 1984 is set in Oceania, which is one of the three superstates or intercontinental superstates which divide the world. It is set in Oceania. The other two are Eurasia and East Asia, in which our main protagonist, Winston, works as a member of the Outer Party. The Party is basically the organization which controls Oceania and rules with an iron fist. It's a totalitarian government in a very depressing world in which basically everything is controlled. The government sees everything. There's this figure called Big Brother who is always watching you, and the government sees every move you make, everything you speak, everything you do, and everything you will do, and it can also control who you will be married to, who will you have children with, how those children are raised, and basically everyone is your enemy. Even your children are your enemy. That's how depressing of a book this is. Now, at first this might sound a little bit weird, but the way this book introduces all these new concepts seems totally natural. So just because I'm describing it a little bit too fast here does not mean that the book is this way. It's actually pretty well written book. The pacing of this book is, in my opinion, one of the best things about it, and it does not get talked about and they're very well paced, so it doesn't feel overwhelming at first and you're just like, oh, what is this, I don't understand anything. But it doesn't seem underwhelming, like you're thinking, okay, I should care more about this, but I don't. Luckily, this book maintains a perfect balance between introducing too many new things at once or just keeping things stale. It's in a perfect balance which keeps the reader enthralled and immersed into the storyline which it introduces. Now, this book is basically about the adventures of Winston and the other woman he meets named Julia, but I cannot really go deep into the story of this book as it would reveal too much. And one of the joys of reading this book is discovering many of the plot twists, many of the shocking reveals, many of the new ideas, the ideologies, everything for yourself and forming your opinions on that spot. So I won't really tell you much about this book, as the reason I enjoyed it so much was because I didn't know anything about this book. I just heard that it was really good and it was also pretty dark and depressing, which is the type of books I like. If you're the type of person who likes to analyze many of the different characters, many of the ideologies, many of the philosophies in a book and just analyze everything, then this is the book for you, because the amount of things this book leaves up to the viewer and the amount of things that are vague are pretty extraordinary. On pretty much everything this book introduces, all the ideas, all the plot twists, all the philosophies, the viewer or the reader can pretty much make their own theories, which is a very welcome approach. And I've said that before, this is actually a very bleak and kind of depressing book in many of the themes it introduces and the things which happen. Everything, especially in a world like this. So if you're a person who does not like things that are which are depressing or dark or bleak, then I don't think this book will work for you, because it has basically all those features in it. However, if you're a person like me who likes these type of books, or at least has a fascination for these type of books, then I highly recommend it, because you'll most likely love this book. And as for the characters, they're also pretty well written. Although I will say one thing, there are many types of books, and there are some type of books in which the characters are the main point of the story, and the story is just a vessel through which you can learn about the characters. But in this book, it's the opposite. It's the world and the themes and the ideologies and the philosophies which it sets upon, and the characters are just vessels for you to learn and think about those philosophies. So basically, the world setting, the ideologies and the philosophies come first in this book, and then the characters. But that's what I think anyway. But that does not mean that the characters are shallow. The characters are also pretty well written. For example, our main protagonist, Winston, is a pretty deep character. He's very compelling and you will really like him. You will grow attached to him and you will, like him enough for you to root for him, for you to want him to succeed in his goals. As for many of the other characters, they're also pretty interesting. You really, you analyze things about them, you want to know about their goals. They are very mysterious. In short, pretty much every single one of their characters, even the ones which are side characters, are well fleshed out and you want to know more about them. So now in the end, if I were to rate this book, I would give it a 4.5 out of 5. Almost perfection. I really like this book. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't like these type of books, I still advise you to give it a try at least. And that's it. Thank you for watching my video. Subscribe and like if you enjoyed it, and goodbye.